Today, we're going to look at favoritism that parents sometimes show to children and how that can play out. And we're going to take a look at a certain kind of family therapy, which could help us to understand about this. Shalom, I'm Yosef Kornfeld, and this is Parashat Toldot. The Parsha starts, and these are the Toldot of Yitzchak. These are the descendants of Yitzchak, which Rashi tells us is the story of Yaakov and Esav in the Parasha. We are introduced to them while they were still in their mother's womb. Rivka is experiencing very much difficulties in her pregnancies, and she feels like there's two boys that are fighting with each other in her womb. She goes to seek advice from Hashem, and she receives a prophecy. 2 nations are in your womb. 2 separate peoples shall issue forth from your body. 1 people shall be mightier than the other, and the older shall serve the younger. And sure enough, she gave birth to twins, and 2 very different twins at that. The first one emerged red, like a hairy mantle all over, so they named him Esav. His brother was born holding Esav's heel, which is Akev, so they called him Yaakov. The story continues. When the boys grew up, Esav became a skillful hunter, a man of the field. Yaakov, a simple man, dwelling in tents. With these 2 different sons, each parent had a favorite. Yaakov loved Esav because the hunt was in his mouth, and Rivka loves Yaakov. The Torah doesn't hide this favoritism of the parents. On the contrary, family discord and how it plays out is one of the central themes in Sefer Bereshit. So how can we go about understanding this? When we delve into the subject of family therapy, one of the pioneers in the field was Michael White. He and David Epstein developed a form of therapy that came to be known as narrative therapy. It gets its name because the central idea revolves around the story. While other therapies look for some underlying structure or dysfunction in the family, Michael White proposed that it is the meaning that family members attribute to events that determine their behavior. He uses the analogy of a text as a description of the way in which people can organize their lives around a particular problem. In reading a text, there can be multiple interpretations and meanings. Exploring these different meanings can open space for new outcomes. So, with this in mind, let's look at the text and see what we can learn about Yitzchak's love for Esav. In the verse, Yitzchak loved Esav because the hunt was in his mouth. The original Hebrew of the phrase is ki tzayid befiv, literally, because hunt is in his mouth. The phrase is cryptic and open to multiple interpretations. Firstly, it is ambiguous whose mouth is referred to here, Yitzchak or Esav's. Rashi says that pshat, the simple meaning, is that it is Yitzchak's mouth. And it means Yitzchak loved Esav because Esav brought him venison meat from his hunting. So in his mouth was the meat within Yitzchak's mouth. And that's why he loved Esav. Chizkuni points out that with Yitzchak's love for Esav, the Torah uses the past tense. Vaye'ahav, Yitzchak loved Esav, to show that Yitzchak did not love Esav all the time, but only at times when he provided him with venison. When describing Rivka's feelings for Yaakov, the Torah uses the present tense, ohevet. She loves Yaakov, as her feelings for him were constant. Rashi brings an alternative midrashic meaning for this phrase, ki tzayid befiv. Fiv, his mouth, refers not to Yitzchak's mouth, but to Esav's mouth. And it translates as, because he, Esav, would hunt with his mouth, which is to say that Esav spoke deceptively to make him seem more righteous than he was. He would ask his father questions such as, do we need to take tithes from salt? That led Yitzchak to believe that Esav was righteous. Rabbi Yosef Chaim, in the Sefer Aderet Eliyahu, writes that Yitzchak knew about Esav's bad nature and that he was being deceptive. But Yitzchak reasoned that since Esav was ashamed to show his true nature to his father and instead presented himself as righteous, then Yitzchak should treat him as such. In this way, perhaps Esav will feel ashamed and improve his ways. In this reading of the text, Yitzchak's love is not an eternal love of the heart, but a conscious action to bring his son close. Ramban has yet another way of translating the phrase. In this reading, ki tzayid b'fiv, it means that the word tzayid is in his mouth, in Yitzchak's mouth. And this is because Esav brought him the venison that he loved, and Yitzchak called him tzayid, that name was in his mouth, was tzayid. He gave him this nickname of hunter, and that was his expression of love. We see from looking at the simple phrase, ki tzayid b'fiv, there are many different meanings, and all those meanings would lead to divergent stories. Each one of them tells a different story about a father's love, about the son's relationship with his father. Each one of them would give us a different understanding of how this story in this family would play out. In the coming weeks, we will continue to explore and ask questions about the Torah portion and explore the family issues that shape the development of the Jewish people. If you like this video, give it a like, and if you have any comments or questions, you can leave them below. Thank you.